Hey everyone, it's Tomas Reyes, and this is episode 22 of Masters of Regeneration Radio. Can we talk about the headlines this week? Saltwater fish extinction by 2048. Ireland declares climate emergency. The Mediterranean Sea at 6,000 feet deep is basically a plastic landfill. Big agriculture is breeding a worldwide health crisis. 1 million species face extinction, UN report says. We're so screwed if we don't take action now. According to National Geographic, half of land must be kept in a natural state to protect the earth. And land conservation must double by 2030 to prevent dangerous warming and unraveling of ecosystems. That's right, yeah. So, quantum physics says reality changes with observation. Another branch of quantum physics says reality is observation. So if you're not consciously observing because perhaps you're constantly distracted or something, whose reality are you experiencing? I'm asking myself that question. Being sapiens means it's our responsibility to protect the natural world, and the world needs your observation. The world wants you to see a new reality for the planet. We are symbolic animals. We represent objective reality with intangible symbols that are so powerful that we transform the natural world with them. We imagine, envision, we make, we transform. That's our superpower. But if we don't protect the body of the earth, we lose the memory of the world that is actually contained in biological information flows. Because of how we evolved as a species, we have cared more about symbols than objective reality. Throughout history, human belief systems have come and gone. Temples appeared and disappeared. We can do without them, clearly. But try and do without clean food, water, and air. We can't survive. We live in the solar system, after all. It's not called the Christian system, it's not called the Muslim system, the Judaic system, the capitalist system, or the liberal system. It's the freaking solar system. And the sun is what powers everything that's going on in the biogeochemical flows that are life on Earth. In this episode 22 of Masters of Regeneration Radio, I am going to share with you my thoughts on what we can do both individually and as a species in relation to the natural world to understand why we are where we are and what actions we must take moving forward. This is our time.
Welcome to Masters of Regeneration Radio. Conversations with humans who dare to reimagine our place on planet Earth. Earth is changing fast. Evolution happening in real time. An intimate, circular understanding of nature and living systems. We are the land. The land is us.
Hey everyone, I'm Tomas. I'm 42 years old in 2019. In my lifetime, I have loved big cities. I grew up in Paris, France, and I have lived in Tokyo, Bogota, New York, LA, Rio. And I have also loved nature. I spent most of my childhood summers on the Pacific coast of Colombia, and I love oceans and forests everywhere. I love being submerged in a forest or underwater, diving. Those are two of my favorite places on Earth, especially in the ocean. In 2019, however, I'm not so sure about how much I love cities anymore, especially megacities, the ones beyond 10 million people. They don't seem to make any sense anymore. Imagine how much a city consumes daily. Imagine a 1 million people city, a 5 million people city, or a 38 million people city like Tokyo. 38 million people eating, shopping, consuming every day. And there's 7 billion of us. For perspective, and even if it's apparently unrelated, since this is not about space but about time. The difference between 1 million and 1 billion seconds, right? 1 million seconds is 11 days, whereas 1 billion seconds is 34 years. How much is 7 billion people? I have no idea. It's a lot of people. Amounts seem harder to wrap your head around than you would think, right? So if you're listening to this or you're reading this in the future, then we made it. We changed gears. We reconnected to a way of living in sync with how the natural world works. We understood nothing has a self-nature. Even us, we're not separated from nature. There isn't something out there called nature, and we're here called humans. We are all made of the same stuff on the planet. We are living systems, cycling in and out, genetic memories passed from one species to the next. In doing so, if you're reading or listening to this in the future, if we reconnected to all this, we saved wildlife and we saved ourselves. If you're reading or listening to this in the present, well, I'm glad you're here, and I also urge you to take action. From the smallest action, like carrying your own water bottle and saying no to single-use plastic and carrying tote bags, to reconfiguring your understanding of the models of reality that dictate how you are living right now, consuming right now, and getting a sense of satisfaction of being alive right now. We live in an edible world, but we have forgotten this fundamental part of our ability to exist as a species. And this statement, we live in an edible world, holds more truth than you know. Let me explain. Today, in cities around the world, I can't trust what I eat. I can't trust what I drink, what I breathe, what I hear, and I can't trust what I see. No matter where I am, Paris, Mexico City, Bogota, Los Angeles, New York, the air stinks. Air quality index reports mostly say unhealthy. Public food in restaurants, in supermarkets, is mostly unhealthy as well. Lots of fillers and anti-nutrients. And water needs to be filtered or comes in plastic bottles. And I'm not even talking about other cities around the planet. If I don't know myself very well, what I think is also designed and defined for me by the city around me and social networks and advertising, talking to me day in and day out, selling to me as far as my field of vision and hearing allow. Because of how we evolved as a species, we have cared more about symbols than objective reality, right? Throughout history, like I said before, human belief systems have come and gone. Temples have appeared and disappeared. We can totally do without them. It's just a matter of looking at history. They have come and they have gone, and things are all right. We can do without them, but we can't do without the essential evolutionary drivers that are food, water, and air. We can't survive without them. As a species, we separated from the way the natural world communicates. We did so through a long process of taking knowledge outside our bodies, and we put it in external codes. We created human language and the alphabet, and mathematics and physics, chemistry, etc. In nature, the memory of the world is contained in the most ancient text on the planet. It's the genetic code. And memories are passed down from one generation to the next, embedded in the body, in the genetic code. Us humans included. But because we identified with the rational part of our minds and the external experience of our mind becoming the world around us, we now think the best things in life are out there, outside ourselves. But truly, all you need in life to be filled with joy, satisfaction, and love, and gratitude and inner peace is inside you. External things you essentially need: food, water, and air, a place to sleep. The whole universe takes shape literally in your head through your perception. And in there, in the comprehension of your place in living systems, lies the answer to all your questions. What is my place? What is my role in keeping living systems healthy? In keeping my life support systems healthy? This is our time. It's called the Anthropocene because it's the age of humans. And so I ask myself, will the coming generations remember this age because of how we pillaged and destroyed our own life support systems? Or will they remember us for our courage and wisdom to admit our mistakes and rise to the challenge of reimagining Homo sapiens as a species in relation to the needs of the natural world? We must change the way we manage our lives. The reality of our dependence on the natural world is undeniable, and nature needs your help and focus. This is about surviving as a species. I know it sounds like asking a lot, especially if you have lived in the seemingly pampered reality of a comfortable city life, where you can order all you think you need by pressing a button on your phone screen. And the heroes you so admire and ignite your soul, they're all in books and screens. I'm not asking we do one small thing. I am asking for a complete leap in understanding for our species. Please, I urge you to inform yourself and educate yourself on how you can live different and fill yourself with courage to do so. If you don't know how to, or you do and would like to join forces, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at tomas@mastersofregeneration.com. In a world flooded with distraction and disempowering narratives designed to control you and convince you that you are weak and that you need stuff outside yourself to feel satisfied, understanding yourself as a dynamic, living process, a container of living systems and genetic memory flowing through you is revolutionary, and it's empowering because you understand you are the land and the land is you, that there is no separation, that nothing has a self nature. What makes the quality of living in the human world? I ask myself this question very seriously. I invite you to do the same. Ask yourself the same question, whichever form works best for you. What makes the quality of my life? Think of the patterns and actions that repeat in your daily life. Is it how much time I have to do what I love? What are my daily actions that define ultimately how I'm living? How do I get a sense of satisfaction from the life that I live? Is it from consuming? Is it from spending money? Is it from making money? Is it from how much I can provide for others? Is it how much light I can give everyone around me, no matter their darkness? Is it how often I can go out or go online and consume? Is it how much I earn so I can consume more or better things? Is it how much I spend time in nature? Is it how much time I spend dancing at festivals? Is it how much time I can spend at the beach? Or how much I can buy or sell on Amazon? These are all questions that will vary from one person to the next, but there are essential ones. And our house is burning. The living systems that support life and we are part of are disrupted. The health of the food we eat, gone. The energy reservoirs depleted. And that is all due to the story we have been telling ourselves about our place on planet Earth and how we make use of life. We are an organism made of myth. We are made of stories made up by ourselves and about what we are entitled to do, what we are allowed to believe, what we are allowed to express, and how we are allowed to ultimately consume. I have traveled throughout my life since I was a kid to over 100-something cities in 4 continents since I was 4. And in my 42 years, I've seen cities grow polluted and traffic has grown. The air quality has degraded. Food has turned into lab-grown industrial fodder that is so far removed from what I remember as a kid in Paris. Just having access to real, fresh food coming from the countryside that had authentic genetic memory in it. I've seen islands in the Caribbean lose their beaches and biodiversity, and the corals bleach. You get the picture. You've most likely also been a witness to the rapid loss of biodiversity and wildlife, which is bad news for us all. Have you thought about why this is happening and what we can do about it? Have you taken any action? The dominant story so far has been one of human narcissism and abuse of nature. The goal as a species for us can never be to make millions in order to buy more stuff and perpetually keep growing and making more millions if it's at the expense of living systems. The number one goal for a species must always be to keep the flow of life healthy. All of life, your life, my life, the natural world that sustains us. Without a healthy natural world, there will soon be no us at all. I'm committed to doing everything in my power, and everyone who sees it too, to show you the reality of the structural challenges of our relationship with the natural world. If we want to survive, if we want our progeny to experience the things we love about life, like clean air, clean water, delicious food that's healthy and fresh, the natural wonders around us, wildlife, healthy family and friends, and green pastures with flowers and crisp mountain air, reefs teeming with life, clean beaches, oceans, having healthy babies, and the other more subtle life support systems like quiet space, time to think, time to rest. If we want that, we have to redefine what our story is. Is it a new version of liberalism? A new version of capitalism? Is it a circular, regenerative capitalism based on an evolutionary understanding of how life actually works? These are some of the reasons I do what I do, and I cannot think of doing anything else right now with the time I've been given on Earth. I feel I can't just quietly enjoy my life being a docile and content citizen without going the extra mile to educate myself and others what is going on, and to communicate what other extraordinary human beings around the planet are doing to protect what we love the most and what we need, which is life itself. I'd love to be doing everything I love without having to worry about the rest of the world, knowing that the systems that support this lifestyle are well, that we can do so by the millions and we're not killing ourselves. But that's not the case. There's so much work to be done. We have stories to tell and educational efforts to support. Our species, I think, needs an intervention right now, and I think we all know it. We need a radical change of habits, of lifestyle, and understanding how life evolves. We are temporary containers of biological information. We must realize this so we understand not only as a fun fact, but deep down with our gut and our nervous system that nothing has a self-nature, that we're not separated from the natural world. We must understand this fact so deeply that it gives us goosebumps and changes how we live. Life on Earth wants to refine itself and evolve by mutating and selecting, adapting to the environment around, passing on essential knowledge and nutrients from one generation to the next in our bodies and the animal bodies and the plant bodies and the minerals. We are born, we grow, we sustain life, and life sustains us until we come back to feed the earth with our own bodies when our time is done. When your time is done here and you look back at your life, will you be grateful that you contributed to making life possible for all organisms on the planet? Or will you be grateful that you were able to buy a lot of stuff mindlessly without caring how it was made, how it affected living systems around you, or without having known as intimately as possible how life works? And while contributing to the limitless consumption of humanity, when your time is done here, what will you be grateful for? Today, I say all this because I'm scared. I'm scared for those things that make life worthwhile. Me and many others will help teach those who don't know because they haven't been taught how nature actually works. But other things like massive corporations and governments that aren't doing anything yet, urgent, in spite of irrefutable scientific evidence, must be held accountable. We need to know, by the way, how far can we actually demand stuff as citizens from our governments? Does anyone out there listening to this episode has the answer to this? Can we talk, please? There is nothing like a breath of fresh air, a chilled glass of water, a hearty meal that actually nourishes you, a good night's sleep under the stars, away from city lights and the constant urban noise, the open smile of a baby, untainted by human belief systems. A walk on the beach without any plastic or trash everywhere, or a walk in the Andes without microparticles from coal mines assaulting your lungs. This is the real endgame. We project heroes in movies and series, but we need the real heroes now, right here, right now, because the enemy is nowhere but inside us. It's a matter of our inner management. We treat the outside world just like we treat our inner reality. This need to control nature started thousands of years ago with what led ultimately to the agricultural revolution of 12,000 years ago. We have spent the last couple hundred years trying to control life and nature more than ever. And since 1950, it's been getting worse at a speed most of us are not even aware. Instead of investing our lifetime to understanding how we can live in balance with natural cycles, we have been outstandingly narcissistic and arrogant, believing we were the only intelligent organism on the planet, self-entitled to all the good things in life that the market has sold us since we were kids, believing we need all this stuff to feel alive and all right. And now we've disrupted ecological balance altogether and decimated wildlife. We have to stop blaming stuff. It's not the stuff out there that we must blame. We need to turn our attention to our human management of the land. This is not about should we eat beans or should we eat beef. It's about the toxic feedlots and the toxic industrial agriculture. The red tide in Florida, the sargassum seaweed crisis in the Caribbean, thousands of fish, manatees, insects, and people are dying because of the human toxic management of the natural world. That's what we need to fight. It's our own blindness, our own mindlessness. And it's sometimes not our fault. We simply don't know. Someone needs to teach us. I think we must also change the vocabulary we use to talk about our predicament. We don't need to fight climate change. We are the cause of climate change and global warming. That's where we need to focus our attention, within. Again, it comes down to how we are managing. What is our relationship to the natural world? The natural world out there is actually supporting your life. It's giving you free air, fresh water, and food everywhere. We live in an edible world. I understand we must learn all this through our symbolic ways of learning because that's how we human animals roll, right? We have lost a huge chunk of that connection to body wisdom. Like I said earlier, we pulled knowledge out of our bodies. We turn it into written language and sciences and so on. We are symbolic animals. We represent objective reality with intangible symbols that are so powerful that we transform the natural world with them. We imagine, we envision, we make, we transform. Like I said, that's our superpower. And this is our time. We are also genetic memory flows, and all the genetic memory of the world, all that has ever existed, is contained in food, water, and air. And it's passed down through reproduction, through sex. These are the three evolutionary drivers that are indispensable for life to refine itself and evolve. If you think of what you eat and drink in this way, it may be easier to understand that you are either supporting life or supporting becoming a zombie by eating junk food that is dead and empty of genetic memory. In indigenous cultures around the world, the elders have held the wisdom and experience of the community, a knowledge inextricably linked to the cycles of the natural world around them. In modern cities, our elders have disconnected so much from the natural world that they even forgot how to live. So what do we do when the elders of today fail? We turn to the natural world, the wisest elder of all. It'll teach you everything you need to know about the systems that keep life healthy and thriving. Why are we in this nightmare? I've said it before in other episodes, and I'll say it again. We mistook one thing for another inside our attention. We placed our attention on the wrong thing. Remember, observation is reality in quantum physics? Well, in the last century, we made economic growth the number one goal above all else. In the dimensions of human development, the environment, human rights, health, education, culture, governance, they all bend, or they have bent, to serve the mighty economic growth. When the number one goal is and must always be to protect the healthy flow of biological information. You can call it life, the natural world, the environment, living systems. Now, that's something I'll bend the knee to keep all life healthy all the time. What if that was our golden rule, to keep all life healthy all the time? And all our other models of production and reality were shaped by that one golden rule. Do we need to create the International Church of the Natural World or something? A non-belief system based on actual living systems? Does it run on the blockchain and will need to take over the current model of reality for billions of humans? If that's what it's going to take, I'm in. And others are too. We need people who are brave, vulnerable, and filled with courage to protect the natural world, to protect the oceans, to protect the soil, to protect the planet. Like I said earlier, we live in the solar system after all. It's not the Christian system, it's not the Muslim system, the Judaic system, the capitalist system, or the liberal system. It's the freaking solar system. And every flow of every nutrient and every biogeochemical cycle on the planet is powered by the energy of the sun coming in every day. I urge you to create a conscious daily practice. Why? Because building a new archetype of relating to your life and to how you consume and use the natural world must be a conscious daily practice, because the old model is so deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness that we must work every day at installing this new one deep in our core. And being grateful also for the things we take for granted, like air, right? For example, do you ever wake up and randomly thank plankton, which is 98% of the ocean's biomass, by the way, for giving you half the oxygen you breathe and capturing 1/3 of the carbon in the atmosphere? Maybe you don't because you didn't know. Well, now you do. If you don't because you take it for granted, remember that if you are not trained, it could take a minute or two for you to die. If you're trained and you're a free diver, even 20 minutes won't do. Even if you're David Blaine, right? You still need fresh air to survive. Thank you, plankton, for giving us every other breath we take for free. Fill yourself every morning with whatever works best for you, and also with memory. Remember all these things and be grateful for them, and fill yourself with compassion and patience and perseverance. Before us, the history of life on Earth had been a history of interaction between living things and the surroundings, right? The physical form of the Earth's organisms was shaped by the environment. Life modifying the environment, that's a new thing and it came with us. So we, Homo sapiens, have acquired this extraordinary power in a tiny moment of time to transform the objective reality around us, altering the natural world, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. So what are we doing with this extraordinary power? It is our responsibility to realize our key role in maintaining the environment and all of living systems on the planet, to maintaining them healthy. There is no difference between one and the other. We are the environment. This planet Earth is where you get to live, spinning through the long, dark void, enjoying sunshine and air and water and food and connection. And we have received this life, and perhaps we will reproduce everything. Every animal, plant, mineral, and every human that's ever existed is right here. Their bodies transformed, their legacy inherited. Some of them have even taken the time to leave essential breadcrumbs for us to find our way through the night, or find our way when we are lost and desperate. I'm so grateful for the masters before us who took the time to share their insights and wisdom in words or in writing. Realize how truly wonderful this experience can be, and how fast it'll go until the moment this form you are in will fade, and it'll be time to surrender to the ultimate journey of transformation when your time is done here in this form, right? Say thanks for the chance to experience this epic adventure. You're human. You're free to be whoever you want. You're not fixed. It's challenging, and if it wasn't, it wouldn't be epic. Gather your compassion, your attention, your love for life, your skills, your talents, and know yourself as intimately as possible so you can wake up every day, remember your true nature, and get out there to build the reality we all want, where we protect all life so we can all enjoy this intense ecstasy of being alive in this human form. Ask yourself these wonderful questions. What is worth fighting for? What do we all need to be talking about right now? How are you helping support ecosystems' health? How are you thinking about the models of reality that shape how you're living? These are the single most important issues we must be thinking and talking about as a species, and they are what informs everything else that matters in our lives and makes life worthwhile. We must do so more creatively and with a mind more open than ever. If we want to survive as a species and not drag the rest of the natural world down with us, this is what it boils down to. What other questions can we ask ourselves as individuals, as a species? What can we do individually? I don't know, but in the morning, I don't hear most people waking up thinking, it feels great to be the apex predator on Earth. How I love being responsible for the health of all organisms on the planet and helping create biodiversity for all life to evolve as healthy as possible. That's actually the role of apex predators in every single ecosystem around the world. Wolves, sharks, bears, lions, all the apex predators do that. They support the health and the biodiversity of the ecosystems they live in, right? So feel free to take your notebook out, or you can also go to mastersofregeneration.com/podcast to listen to or read this episode 22 and get, if you got any insights from this, and it's going to help you in your daily morning practice of remembering who you are and where you're going and why you're doing all this. Also, if you want to add comments to this episode on the website, please do so. What can we do right here, right now to support our global transformation? I don't have all the answers, but these are all the questions that I'm asking myself. Do I know and remind myself every day that building a new archetype for our species is a daily conscious exercise? Or do I run on autopilot on old models of reality that are destroying biodiversity and are the root cause of climate change and global warming? And how do I understand my role as a consumer? How do I understand my role as a political citizen? How do I understand my role as being on top of the food chain? Have I ever thought about this? How do I understand my role as a container of biological information flowing through me? Do I understand that I am nature? Do I understand that I am nature flowing through me? What are my rights? How far can I legally demand change from the government as an individual, as an organization, as a group of individuals? How is all food produced or harvested, and how does this affect ecosystems? Who am I giving my hard-won cash to? Is it toxic food producers assaulting the environment, or people taking care of ecosystems? How much plastic am I not seeing in my daily consumption? How many pairs of anything do I really need? How often do I really need to update my electronics? How many times a week do I need to treat myself to something nice by consuming? Be it a dinner or stuff? Have we really grown so spoiled as a species that we must complain about not getting everything we can possibly desire right here, right now? Am I aware every day that nothing has a self-nature, that nothing exists independently of everything else, that everything is, the way Thich Nhat Hanh would say? The most pressing issues, again, are how we have used energy resources, how some of us have produced food. We have assaulted the environment, contaminated rivers, air, earth, oceans with toxic and deadly materials. We have designed systems of living that disconnect us from the ecstasy of being plugged to nature. And that's created waves of massive depression and existential angst, which we compensate for with all sorts of drugs: alcohol, antidepressants, pain meds, shopping, social media, cigarettes filling the environment with cadmium, and cigarette butts that contain plastic polluting our oceans. We have abused sacred indigenous plants and turned them into devastatingly addictive drugs like cocaine. Elders from the Amazon insist that as long as the Western world keeps abusing their most sacred plants like coca and tobacco, humans will keep killing one another. We need to stop giving our hard-earned money to large industrial food producers, animals or plants. We need to stop giving them our money. We need to stop giving our money to large food producers that are assaulting the environment with outdated linear methods of production, like monocrops, which attack and actually hinder evolution because they biosimplify the landscape. Biodiversity is evolution. Biosimplification is not. They're also using industrial fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, which are really biocides because they're killing all of life. And of course, animal feedlots, fish farms, and other forms of animal or plant slavery. If our goal is to protect all life, then we may reduce our meat consumption because buying 100% regenerative, grass-fed, and pastured meats grown through regenerative practices is still very expensive, and so are organic vegetables for the majority of the population. But expensive compared to what? That's where our consumption comes in. Since everything requires energy and natural resources, especially oil, plastic, and metals, how often do you need to replace your stuff? I ask again, how many pairs of anything do you really need? What if we invested our attention and our efforts and billions of US dollars or euros or yuan or Japanese yen, whatever it is, into surviving as a species rather than projecting more heroism onto our screens? It's a big reality check. These are the questions I ask myself. What else can you do? Refuse plastic, refuse styrofoam, refuse straws for sure. Reduce your consumption, reuse everything you can, recycle, absolutely. Carry your own water bottle, keep your organic fiber tote bags handy so you don't need plastic bags or any other bags everywhere. Yes, please. Donate your organic waste to someone composting in your neighborhood. Donate to conservation and activists who are actually helping change laws. The good thing is, many of us are responding to the calling to do something about these issues. Still not enough of us, and in order to create the reality we want, we must help create laws. We must help create rules to protect the natural world, combining ecology with science, with ancestral knowledge from indigenous people from around the world who are the ones who actually know how to stay in balance with nature. Interfacing all of this with data and especially our human imagination, connection, and the care for this. It inspires me. It gives me strength to know that I'm not alone. It's empowering to hear the stories of the heroes of our time doing something about the challenges we face as a species. That's why I created Masters of Regeneration Radio and why we need to join forces now. To communicate how we keep all life healthy on Earth, to support the accelerated expansion of a regenerative collective consciousness, to help protect the health of the natural world and human consumers, to understand that nothing has a self-nature, and we are alive as Homo sapiens in a web of interdependent relationships of energy and nutrient cycles on Earth, to educate the public on a new understanding of our relationship to nature, to serve as an information hub. If people want to and they don't know how to, they can come here and they can listen to all these amazing humans around the planet, all these heroes, really brave people doing something about our challenges, to provide education, to produce content in whatever form is needed, to protect and celebrate. I also remind myself every day to celebrate all these things that make life worth fighting for, right? So that I reconnect to nature, and I'm happy, and I'm actually laughing, and I'm actually enjoying, because this is heavy, all of this, and I know. And I'm sorry if this episode is a little dark at the same time, but I think we must embrace both. We must embrace both this darkness and this light, right? We live in this constant. We must embrace both to raise our collective ambition, to evolve as a species and design our living systems as organisms who are responsible for the health of all life on Earth, as opposed to organisms that mindlessly use, consume, and waste resources. It is our responsibility to vote with our purchases, to demand from politicians that laws be changed. The more of us stop giving away our hard-won money and our attention to corporations poisoning Earth, the faster we'll either force them to shift or replace them with smaller, healthier businesses that keep life healthy on the planet. Like our dear friend Robbie Stewart, director of Shark Water, who died for sharks and our oceans and for life, used to say, find a cause you love, take one of your talents, smack them together, and join us to save the world. Wishing you all less concrete, less pollution, less distraction, less TV, advertising, shopping, fast food, busyness, rush, city lights, and noise and disconnection. And more fresh air, more spring water, more green forests, more turquoise waters filled with fish, and more foraging, and more harvesting wild food, and more cooking, more contemplation, meditation, night skies, stars, reconnection, and more courage. Remember, nothing in nature lives for itself. Rivers don't drink their own water. Trees don't eat their own fruits. The sun doesn't shine for itself. A flower's fragrance is not for itself. Living for each other is nature's rule. From now on, let us rise by lifting others, and let's protect the natural world. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 22 of Masters of Regeneration Radio. If you've made it this far, please, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, give us 5 stars and share the podcast with your tribe. Thank you so much. Sending you all love, gratitude, and a lot of patience and compassion. This is Tomas Reyes, and this is Masters of Regeneration Radio.